Hey guys, welcome to the very first Create Her Chats. I'm so excited to get this series started. Today, let me turn it down a bit. Today, I have the amazing Destiny Jackson joining me, who will be speaking with me very candidly about how she is able to balance a day job and then pursuing her creative passion projects. And I think that is just so important to talk about because we tend to like gravitate towards the conversations, right? Of like, girl, quit your day job, just go ahead, jump out there, build the plane as you fall, and sis. And that's cute and all, and it works for some people. I actually did that myself. But then there are other ways that you can still chase your dreams, build on your passion, and really create the life that you love. And you can do it by sacrificing sometimes and staying with the day job and using that experience that you're getting in this other place to be able to build and really when it's time to shift and give 100% of your focus into your creative project, to do so with like a really, really solid foundation. Like I talk with some of my friends now, and with me running Vane LLC, and then for me, Create Her Collective is a passion project, right? But I still have to do what I got to do with Vane LLC because we got to keep the lights on, sis. We got to be able to, pay for shoots and just pay for the things that we want to do with the platform. Like the platform is here to be able to inspire Black and Brown women to go out and create the life that they love. But there's a certain level of sacrifice in it for me. There's a certain level of adjustments and things that you just have to do to be able to get to reach your like ultimate status of whatever it is that you're working on. So I'm so excited that Destiny said yes. She is a creative that I am super, super inspired by, and I know just talking about her stories, it will be it will give a lot of gems for other people who are trying to figure out, like they might be on the fence and like, I don't know if I should quit my job or not, or if I should just get a new job and figure out how that works. So I'm really looking forward to her being able to provide some perspective based off of her experience. But then also, I just think that she's a really great, amazing creative to know. And like I said, Create Her Collective is a passion project for me. And I love talking to creative women. Like, I've been able to create a space where I don't feel like an alien anymore. I don't feel weird. I don't feel crazy. And I stuck out like a sore thumb where I come from. Like, what you want to create, girl? You want to do art? Like, what? You want to tell stories? What is that? And now I'm like surrounded and exposed to amazing creative women, and I just absolutely love it. And I wanted to create this series to be able to just have live, candid conversations. And if you are in a circle or you're in a place geographically where you might not be surrounded by people like you, or exposed to like people of like-mindedness to you, then hopefully this is another platform that you can like tap into and be able to get inspired, feel validated, feel valued, and that there are people out here like you, and you're not crazy. You just have to figure out how to make the dream work for you, and that's what we're all here for. Like, we're here to do this together.
Hey.
Yay! But how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for saying yes and coming on to talk with us about balancing your day job and pursuing your passion, especially during the pandemic, child, because these last 6-7 months.
Girl. Thanks for thinking of me. Like, I really appreciate it.
Yes. So let's just jump right into that. How has the last 6 months been for you, just overall? Not even talking about the job or your creative projects, but like, where have you been mentally?
It's been some roller coasters. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sure everybody can attest to that. It's been some high moments. Like when we first started, I was like, "Woo, we in the house! Like I can finally like crank out my scripts. Like I can do all that." And then like I hit this peak of like, girl, just sit down on the sofa, take your Zoom call with the camera off. Like,
Yeah.
But I've been good overall. I'm definitely grateful that for the most part my family and friends are safe, they're healthy. Just feeling blessed. I think that's like the biggest takeaway out of this whole time. What about you?
Same. I think It's definitely, in the beginning, it was like an adjustment, but I kind of like swung the one way of like getting grounded and super spiritual. And it was just like, I was working, but it was just like, I was more focused on like, just centering myself. So like I had like started a garden, I was like working out every day. I was taking 4 mile walks every day, child. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna, on a personal level, I'm gonna use this to evolve. But the last 3 months have been like, for me, emotionally very up and down. Of like, I haven't been consistent in some of those personal things that I had developed. Like, I'm not working out as much. Some days I wake up and I'm like, yeah, let's go, let's get it. And other days it's like, do I really only have going to the grocery store to look forward to? Like, what is this?
I'm in the same place. I get it.
Been up and down, but I will say, like, same with like what you just said. I do feel blessed. I do feel blessed to like continue through, like, because people are, losing their lives. People are experiencing great hardships. People are really, really going through, and I think I try to go back to a place of gratitude, in that God has kept me, my community is still here, even when like I feel like I've been horrible at keeping in touch with people. Like, we probably been out one time this whole time, and I was like randomly like, oh yo, like let's catch up or whatever. And it's been like that with like all of my friends and like associates and stuff like that. So I feel like it's just, we've been all just making it, and for me, I'm just grateful to be kept, So let's jump into the topic of today's conversation: balancing your day job and your passion project. So Destiny, you are a writer, you're an actress, you're all around artist, and I know that it can be tough, right? Like having to commit to a place to be or another project that's outside of something that really sets your soul on fire and like really makes you want to get up in the morning, and then still finding time to be able to go and write or to go and practice your craft can be very, very difficult. So talk to me about how you do it.
Before the pandemic, I'll touch a little bit on that. It took a lot of soul searching, like finding what really made me happy, because of course, like, you have your job, you pay your bills, whatever the case may be, and I still wasn't feeling like, oh, I'm doing what I'm like put on this earth to do. So I really had to spend like a lot of time with God and like listening to like those inklings, like, okay, you always like drawing, why don't you get back to doing that? Or you always liked writing stories. I used to write stories in my room all the time, like growing up, do the illustrations. So I was like, okay, as I'm getting these inklings, I'm like, okay, I feel that pull towards like the creative side of things. So I had to really evaluate how I was spending my time and making time. And I spoke with an actor. He was like, yeah, you just need to get up early. And I'm like, get up early? What you mean? And at the time, I wasn't living that far from my job. So I literally was less than 5 minutes away. So I'll be waking up 8 o'clock, like, okay, cool, I gotta be working at 9:30, I'll get there. Like, kind of thing. And he's like, no, you need to wake up 7 o'clock. You don't have to do it every day, but wake up, put in an hour or 30 minutes, whatever the case may be, but make time. Because like you said, you're putting in that time in your 9 to 5, and then you coming home, you're tired. So I've learned that like it's best for me to pour into me in the morning. So I've implemented that now with this whole pandemic and everything. Like, I get up and journal, I get up and do my devotionals, I get up and work out. So it's like getting all those main things and then writing or creating, brainstorming, whatever the case may be. It's just I always have to put me first at the beginning of the day and then my other commitments.
I love that. I love that. Speaking of putting yourself first and almost making a sacrifice to like your old habits, right? So that you can adjust and be able to make room for new habits and the things that you want to see come to fruition. Can you talk a little bit about how difficult that was for you, or how difficult sacrifice might be? Because I think that when we speak about that in culture now, it's like, yeah, hustle, grind, sacrifice. But we almost tokenize sacrifice a little bit, so that people really don't register like how hard sacrifice is and how it's not supposed to feel comfortable or easy or anything like that. So can you tell us about how that transition was for you when you were actually like, okay, I do need to get up early, I do need to commit to this, and did you struggle and all of that stuff?
Yeah. I would say I started to get a hand on it last year. So I started taking an acting class, which was, I think, it was Dustin Felder's acting class. Rest in peace, Dustin.
Rest in peace.
I started, I think, at the end of September last year. So around this time last year was when I actually started taking the class. It was Monday nights, 7 to 10 p.m. Now, I'm tired after work. I'm tired, okay? And I had to think, I'm like, do I want it bad enough? Like, am I willing to sacrifice some sleep or willing to make sure I get the proper amount of sleep? I think what we do, we're like, oh, team, no sleep. No, get your sleep. But you need to get the appropriate hours of sleep and plan your day accordingly and get things done. So that's been like super important to me, like with that. And I was tired, I'm not gonna lie, but I had to kick in that word that I hate sometimes, discipline. I've hated it since I was a child, the word discipline. And I had to parent myself. It's literally having those conversations of, okay, the goal is to one day have your own show. Okay, well, why are you not putting in time creating the web series that you want to make? Okay, so you want to sit here and watch Netflix? Is Netflix paying you? Is Netflix looking at that? Like, having those whole, like, mama conversations with myself. And, I mean, of course, that doesn't work for, like, everybody, but I have to relate to myself. Like, I'm here by myself. Who else is going to influence me? Me. So, you know, it's been a lot of those moments, journaling out those frustrations, because with sacrifices, you're used to doing things a certain way. And in order for you to have that change, you do have to let go of some habits, let go of some people. I've had to change my friend group. Now it's more so of like people who are supportive, who not going to tell me, yes, oh, Destiny, do that. I don't need that. I need the people like, girl, you sure you want to put that out there like that? Or, girl, you're doing too much. Like, I needed that kind of community. And I also needed to be confident in myself. That's something that, like, I've struggled with, like, growing up and things like that. Always being the tallest girl, the curviest girl. Like, I was always the girl who insert adjective here, you know? And I felt like I had to, you know, break down those things that I told myself. Like, okay, you're too tall to, you know, be an actress. It's like, no, you can be an actress, girl. They just gotta find somebody tall enough to stand next to you. It's fine. Like, you know, whatever.
Hello.
Right? So, you know, just a lot of self-work. And that requires you putting in time, making time. Because before we have this pandemic, and I'm sure other people, we make time to go to a party. We make time to go get drinks. Not saying that you can't do those things, but you have to create that balance. I'm still, like, I don't even say I have a balance now. I'm juggling. It's like, okay, whoop, do a little there, okay, kind of thing. But, you know, just making sure you have your community, that's important. Clearing out those people who they say they're your friend and then they saying little shady comments or doing shady stuff, they gotta go. That's not good for your mental health or your emotional health. So cut it. Secondly, spend some time with yourself. Like, if you're a creative, that's what you do. Like, you're in here. You're in your mind. So sometimes that can be your biggest weapon, and your closet that you're locked into. Sometimes you need to free yourself. Just spend some time, journal, pray, all that stuff, and just do it.
Hello.
You know?
You touched on so many things that I kind of want to dive a little bit deeper into, and I absolutely love. First and foremost, that there has to be a certain level of intentionality. Like, you have to make a decision, right? Whether it's you're going to keep a 9 to 5 and then pursue your day job, you got to decide that that's what you want to do, right? The same way that you would decide quit your job and go for whatever you want to work on. But it also requires a certain deeper level of intentionality of, like, you actually auditing who you are, what habits do you have, are those habits aligned with the goals that you say that you have? Do you really want these goals, or did somebody else want these goals and then show them to you real cute on Instagram, and you was like, you know what, I'll take that too.
Right.
I can take that, and then I can take that, but you really don't want to do it. Like, let's figure that out. And I think journaling is a beautiful, beautiful way to really explore that. Like, explore your thoughts, explore and audit, you know, yourself and, like, like I said, your habits and your goals. Team No Sleep, I was a proud member.
I'm glad you've been delivered.
Can't do it no more. Before the pandemic, I was a proud member, and one of my really good friends, an amazing marketing guru, Mariama. Her Instagram is Mariamaism. She's on here right now. She knows like this. She's known me for like the last 10, 12 years, and she's known that I've been like, I'll sleep when I'm done. Absolutely not. We're not doing that anymore. And the pandemic really helped me with that. Like the pandemic helped me get to a place where I was like, okay, I have to prioritize 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and then we'll figure out everything else. Because you don't even like, you have to set yourself up to even be able to be in the mental, physical, and spiritual place to make the sacrifices, to have the discipline, to have the perseverance, to even pursue anything. And it's like we have adopted certain things within our culture and within our culture that like actively works against that. Like if you don't have no sleep, you ain't gonna be in the mood to want to do something that you really don't have to do. That you really need to do, but you really don't want to do because you're tired. Yep. Seriously, you already starting in a negative.
Yep. Exactly.
And that's like so real. So definitely, you guys take that. Please don't or break up with Team No Sleep if you're still on it, because you can sleep and you can grind. Trust me, you can do it.
Some of your visions come to you in your sleep. So that's another thing right there.
And I think a beautiful blessing that the pandemic has been is forcing everybody to slow down. Because another thing, like to me, that I heard when you were speaking is like taking time to really be able to think. And even like in this creative economy that we have, and everyone, I kind of feel like everybody wants to be a creative right now, but you also have to have time to create. Like it doesn't just like happen just because you say you want it to happen. Like you have to have time for it. If you try to create on demand consistently, it don't work like that. Like you need time, you need space to let things breathe. You need to experience things so that you can see stuff in different lights. Like, yeah, you definitely gotta give it a little bit of time, set some intentions, y'all. Start, if you don't have a journal, get a journal. You should have a journal. Everybody needs a journal.
Yep.
I feel like everybody needs a therapist, but you want to start with a journal.
Okay. Start there first. Don't use your social media as your journal. That's one thing I hate.
Because it ain't that. It is not that. But that's a whole other conversation.
Right.
So talking about your before I actually move on, I do want to speak about discipline. Because I feel like we were taught also that discipline is such a bad word. It's such like a dirty word. But now, like every year I get older, I really, really, really register more and more that like you need discipline to be successful. Like you cannot, there is no success without being disciplined. There's no way around it. I've tried to find it. Many people I know have tried to find it. Just we can stop looking because there's no way around it. Like let's just cut it out.
Right.
Do you have any exercises or any things that you did in particular that helped you build your discipline muscle?
I have like this little voice in my head that like I'm one of those people, if I don't feel like doing something, I'm not going to do it. And so like that little voice, I'll listen to it because it's all there. I feel like we all have that little voice where like, you really should do that. Like it was whether you listen to it or not. You know, a little gut feeling. Yeah. Like, I had to practice listening to that voice. Meaning like when I know I'm supposed to do something and I could do it later, it's like, well, what you gonna gain from that? Just do it. So staying tuned in with like your gut, your instinct, and also too like creating a to-do list. That's the other thing. I've kind of fallen off on that a little bit without being so strict on it, but being strict with your to-do list, but also being realistic. Because I think a lot of us, including myself, we get a little ambitious. We're like, oh, today I'm going to knock off 10 things off my to-do list. I got this. I'm painting the house. I'm scrubbing the floors with a toothbrush, like da-da-da-da. And it's like, hold on. Bite it and choose. So it's like, okay, 5 things that need to get done today. Like you have to prioritize, because I feel like with discipline, it also is cousins with time management. So you can't have good time management without discipline, because you got to know when something's got to go and when something needs to happen. So just knowing what my day looked like ahead, like utilizing my the iCal app, scheduling things. Like, okay, so I know I got this chunk of this day. Well, I do have 5 things on my to-do list. Maybe these 2 things can happen here. And then later on, these 2 things. So making sure, like, I'm always creating structure. I'm like, dang, I'm a parent to me. Like, oh, my child needs structure. I am the child.
Me, I am the child. Hello. Reparenting is a whole other thing, because that's definitely have been happening a lot for me in the last 6 months, for sure. Just to adjust, like you said, just being accountable to different habits and making sure that you are in line with what you say you want to do. Can you talk to us about your day job, and do you feel like it's easier, or do you feel that you need, if you want to be able to balance a full-time job, that the job should be in the same industry or realm of where your passion project is, or how have you navigated that?
I've only worked in the industry. Like, all of my work experience besides like high school has been within like the industry. So that does present its own challenges depending on what part of the industry you want to work in. So like, for instance, like I work in casting, and as you mentioned, like I do act, I write, I do all these things. It's kind of hard to balance where it's like, okay, you want to act, but how you gonna go on auditions and you at the office? Or, you know, those kind of things. Like, I do think like my friends who do work outside the industry have it a little bit easier. Not to say that their struggle isn't a struggle, because we're all fighting for the same thing, but I think their playground is a little more even to play in.
Got it.
And with them, it's like they just have to find the time. They're like, okay, well, I know I work from 9 to 5. Like, I'm off, so I can hit auditions, like a self-tape when I get off work. Me, I may leave the office a little bit later. So it's like, it's hard. It's very hard. I also, too, like, didn't go into the job saying, like, oh, I do X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. So that's, like, its own challenge, too. But, yeah, it's a struggle.
Gotcha. I get that. That makes sense. There will be pros and cons for each, just because I can see the pro of being able to separate the worlds if they're distinctly different, and then the con of like, well, I'm casting this thing, but I also probably would kill it.
Like, I should be reading.
So segueing from the full-time job, let's talk about these passion projects. And you just launched your podcast that came out of nowhere. I feel like it is popping. You have your pilot that you're working on. Tell me about all the things, honey.
Yeah, girl, I move in silence. That's another thing you gotta do. You gotta move in silence. Everybody don't need to know. So, like, I don't be posting like, oh, I'm thinking of doing a podcast. Like, no, I'm gonna just do it. I'm just here. So my podcast is called I Just Think It's Funny. It's with my friend Brianna, because, you know, some stuff be funny. You gotta talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And
even when it's ain't, but we gonna still talk about it.
Come on. And we just dropped episode 2 yesterday. That came from just us having girl talk. I'm like, girl, we just funny. Like, we need to talk about this. Like, I felt that as a millennial woman, sometimes, like, we can kind of, as what I'm saying, millennial Black woman, sometimes we don't have spaces just to kiki and just have a good time. And so I kind of wanted to create that. I wanted to create the environment for listeners to feel like they're in on our conversations, like they're our girlfriends too, or if it's a guy, you know, they're our guy friends too, just hanging out with us and just having like that dialogue. So yeah, we just dropped last week. A new episode came out yesterday. We talk about NFL affecting dating, and then talking about just dating apps, because that's all we got right now. I'm not a fan, but, you know, that's all we got. So got a guy's point of view too. My friend Rome, some of you guys might know him from Dormtainment. He's in it. My friend Stacey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's like my big brother right there. And then what else am I working on? I'm also working on my web series. I did a table read. Actually, I've done 2 table reads. It's called A Date with Destiny. It's loosely based upon my life. Loosely. I just use certain elements, you know. But just talking about life in LA, being in your early 20s, trying to figure it out. Because I feel like a lot of my friends, we're all trying to figure out, no matter if they're 27 or 37, like we're all here chasing after something, going after what we want. And it does present some challenges when you are working that 9 to 5. I do kind of cover that too, working that 9 to 5 and trying to be creative and things like that, and trying to date and things like that too. That's been my major project. Hopefully wrapping that up. The goal was to shoot it this year, but here we are in this pandemic.
Here we are.
But you know what? I see it as a blessing because now I'm able to go back and really like dig into it. That's what I'm working on, doing revisions, changing storylines, making the storylines stronger. Because I feel like some people, I'm like, ooh, this could speak to the people in a different way if they were maybe this way. What else am I working on? Got a YouTube channel. I'm still trying to figure that out. That's a hard one. I'm like, look, y'all don't get this video whenever I get it.
Man, listen, I feel like pretty much everybody needs to have YouTube channels at this point. And it just like literally have conversations, like post whatever. I follow so many different people. Like I'm subscribed to so many different people on YouTube. I'm subscribed to girls who give me literally what they're vegan, what they eat a day every week. I mean, what they eat in a week every week. And I watch that video, and I watch a bunch of like tech and like camera reviews and things like that from another group. There's a group of like Canadian white men vloggers that I like stand for, like, and I follow all of their content. I follow a few web series. I follow girls who are just gonna give me looks.
Okay.
So I feel like YouTube is a wonderful place to just have whatever conversation that you want to have and talk about whatever, because there's an audience for every single thing. And pretty much everybody should have them. If you're trying to build a brand, including myself, this is stuff that I need to tell myself about probably here right now. If you have a brand and you're trying to do something, YouTube is definitely where you will want to test out your message and build your audience for sure. I love it. Okay, so with your web series, do you feel like, you know, because it's loosely based, we're going to go with that loosely based? Because I'm writing a pilot right now, finishing up a pilot, and it's also loosely based on my life. Do you find it difficult when you're doing that, and that you want to write it kind of like true to some of the things that have happened, but when it comes to like writing and filmmaking, and specifically script writing, you got to do certain things that are like foundational for scripts or foundational for film? Do you find that like a challenge?
Yeah, because like just the emotion behind it sometimes, you know, sometimes when you're using certain things, whether you were happy about it or sad about it or you still mad about it to this day, you have to like tone that down, because it's like, wait a minute, you're the writer. In this case, I'm the writer and the actor, but I have to keep in mind that actors have to take this and then bring their interpretation. Like, you can guide them. That's what the script is for. And the structure is there to be able to guide them. But the emotions, like, we can't be going on a rant from your 5th grade teacher that you just felt like you needed to say. Like,
because you've been sitting with that for a while. I know that's right. Have you, I know that you like shifted your schedule and adjusted your discipline to a lot for yourself to be able to focus on your passion project, but have you at all during the pandemic found it difficult to even create or to even get to a space to want to tell a story?
Yeah, probably I would say, I think the last table read I did was June. And I initially was like, oh, I'm going to do one in July. I have not, like, I found the will, I guess that's the word, to, like, want to sit down and write. It's been, like, in spurts. So when, like, those spurts and things happen, I just make sure that, like, okay, let me just sit here. Oh, I'm staying up past 11. Okay, I'm just sit here. I feel it in my spirit. Let me just sit and type, you know, just kind of staying in tune with, like, the waves that happen. Because right now, it's like, I don't want to put the pressure on myself, because there's a lot going on, just trying to stay sane in the house, just trying to like just live day to day. It's like I don't need to put pressure on something that's an outlet for me.
That's so real. Girl, I got in my car one day and I was so frustrated. This is like a month ago now, maybe a month and a half. I was so frustrated, and I think I was on FaceTime with somebody. I don't know if it was family or friend. I was just like, the only thing I have to look forward to is going to Whole Foods every week. And I was so pissed that I got in my car and I started driving, and an hour later, I'm in Santa Barbara. Like an hour and a half later, I was in Santa Barbara. Like I just started driving. I was like, I'm not going to the grocery store. I was on the 105, then I got on the 405. Next thing I know, I was in Santa Barbara, and I was like, okay, well, I'm here now. And I like walked around a little bit, got some food. And it was like that, but like that was the first time. It was in August. That was the first time during the pandemic where I was just like, I cannot stay in this house. I cannot just try to write. I cannot like edit anything. Like I don't want to do nothing but live. And shout out to Jesus and the universe for, taking your girl to Santa Barbara. I had never been. I literally got on the 405, just drove. And by the time I got to Santa Barbara, it was like signs. I'm like, all right, well, I'll get off here. All right. It got mad real for me. So I can only imagine what everybody else is going through. Because I try to keep it together for the most part, but I definitely randomly drove to Santa Barbara.
Hey, this will make a great story one day. Like, I can't foresee myself randomly driving to Santa Barbara. I went last year for my friend's birthday, and I'm like, that's not a place I just want to randomly end up at. Like, I
had no idea it was there. It was cute. I had the best veggie burger of my life. I had the Impossible Burger for the first time there, and I was like, okay, bet. Now I'm open to some new things.
Okay.
But yeah, that totally happened for me, and I definitely felt the like ups and downs of like being in the mood and then not in the mood, and it's been a thing with the pandemic of like not wanting to waste your time or not wanting to waste this opportunity, but then also not wanting to put too much pressure on yourself, like you said, because this is unprecedented. Nobody has gone through this before. We don't know what we're doing, and I think we are learning that we have to take more care of ourselves and have more care as we're like navigating life.
Right.
So I love that. Well, can you do me a favor and shout out where we can follow your podcast?
Yeah.
And I know that you're like waiting to go into production for your web series. If you have anything like an IG page or anything that you want us to follow to keep up with where you are in your story, if you were fundraising, sis, to drop that, and then also let us know where we can follow you.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So you can follow me personally at Destiny, DESTINY .created. So that's my personal page. The podcast page is I Just Think It's Funny _pod. P as in Paul, O as in octopus, D as in dog. I think that's right. I'm like, I still have to like remember that one.
Because it's fresh, y'all. It's fresh.
It's real fresh. It's real fresh. And then we have our YouTube channel as well. For it, if you ever want to watch like the video of the podcast, I believe the link is for sure in the Instagram page. So if you go to the bio there, it's there. And in my bio, you can find my YouTube channel as well. I don't really have anything else. I'm trying to limit my social media. I'm trying.
I love it. Well, we can definitely check you out there. Again, at destiny.created. You like share some really dope gems. I think another thing for us, well, at least for me, I'm going to speak for me. But if you identified it, just let me know, girl, so I ain't on this island.
Okay, I got you, girl. I got you.
I think that we fantasize about this certain level, right, when it comes to like the thing. So if it's like a filmmaker or a screenwriter or an editor or whatever, like we imagine that you got to be at a certain level before we can speak to what we know or speak to our experiences. And it's like, there's so many gems in the journey. Like the destination, at that point, it's like, people aren't even relating to you anymore because you're so far away from them. And a big push for me to start doing this IG Live series is like to have the conversation with people that I know are like in the journey with me and going along the way. And I shy away from speaking. I shy away from, talking about things. I'm just like, well, I'm just doing what I no, and I'm just doing what I can figure out in the moment.
Right.
And people are like, well, girl, that's more than I know. Like, you could have dropped that gem right then in that moment.
Right.
You ain't have to wait until you was Oprah to then try and tell me, sis. I don't know. Do you feel like that?
No, I agree. I think about, like, over the course of the time, I guess, with the pandemic, some college students and recent grads from USC, that's where I graduated from, reached out. Just like, hey, like, I see you working in entertainment. Like, if you have any advice, blah, blah, blah. But at first, I was like, what y'all want to talk? I'm just an assistant, y'all. Like, what y'all mean y'all want to talk to me? What I'm going to tell you how to answer a phone? You know. And I was like, you know what? I talked to my mom. She's like, you know, you have a journey. No matter if you're not Issa Rae, because you know that's my girl, but you're Destiny, and Destiny has a story. Destiny has different things that she's picked up along the way. So I'm like, okay. I talked to them, and they're like, oh my God, you're so helpful. And I'm like, really? I was just telling them like what I learned about as far as like setting boundaries, what it's like to set boundaries like at work, set boundaries with yourself, and like balancing and telling them like they need to make sure that they don't lose track of them within this whole process. Because like you said, the grind is the grind. You're going to be there and you're going to look back and either you didn't pick up those gems along the way and you're going to wish you had. Because I don't know what I said could do to help them. They might have the confidence now to like walk into that interview or send that LinkedIn message to somebody else that could completely change like the trajectory of their lives, you know. So I definitely think it is important to talk like while you're on the journey, because like you said, you know, you felt like maybe you felt only that way, and it's like, no girl, I'll be feeling the same way too, like, you know. So I think we sometimes make the journey become like an isolation race where everybody's like in their little tube and when it's like, no, it's a community. We all are experiencing things in one shape or another, and Black Hollywood is tiny, so we all gonna know each other. It's like this big.
And it's getting smaller by the day. Like, when you look at TV, and it does not look as small as it is, but being in it, I'm just like, oh my, okay.
Everybody know everybody.
It's a matter of time before I come across this person or work with that person.
It's so true.
Thank you so much, Destiny, for joining me and for sharing your journey and sharing your gems.
Of course.
We're going to be sure to follow you and to keep up with you. And I will chat with you later.
Yeah, girl, call me. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course.
Bye.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for checking in for this series, Create Her Chats. We're going to be coming to you twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. Create Her Collective was created to be able to connect women who are in the creative space, and that's any creative space. A lot of our content is focused around Hollywood and acting and film, but we are looking to feature writers and poets and painters and anyone who is using their talents to create something. And ultimately, we want to be able to inspire you, to equip you, to motivate you to create the life that you love or a life that you dreamed of. So be sure to, if you're not already, follow us here at Create Her Collective and check out our Instagram. Make sure that you have your notifications on because we're going to be posting a lot more. And again, I'm coming with resources. We're going to have more events. We're going to have books, things to break down everything that you could possibly need to go after your goals. That's ultimately what I want. I want to inspire a million creatives, y'all. Like, the best decision I feel like I have ever made in my life was to dump my idea of what a good life would look like and like the idea of what success was based on seeing a juxtaposition of where I come from. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. Dumping that idea and really doubling down into like me wanting to create and wanting to tell creative women's stories, creative people's stories, and to really focus on Black folks. Like, that was one of the best decisions I have ever made. While it's hard, like, being an entrepreneur is super, super hard, I do feel fulfilled. I do feel happy in knowing that the things that I do each day actually matter and actually pour into other people. And I don't think that I would have gotten this if I would have kept on the career field that I was going down. Like, and I can get into that a little bit later. But we're here for you. Creator Collective is a resource for you, and I would love for you guys to use us. So stay tuned, follow, turn on your notifications, and I'm going to see you on the next one.